How many speakers do you need for proper Dolby Atmos playback in your home? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasalo with Audioholics. I hope you guys are having an awesome holiday time. I'm looking forward to Christmas, spending it with the family. I hope you guys are as well. Wanted to talk to you guys about how many speakers do you need for proper Dolby Atmos playback in your home. And when I say proper, I mean all discrete speakers, not the bouncy house ones like these where you put a speaker on top of a speaker and you shoot the sound off the ceiling and you hope for the best. Of course, if you have no option to put speakers in your walls or in your ceiling, that's your last resort. You're welcome to do that. You're welcome to try it. It's sometimes better than nothing. But if you want to do Dolby Atmos correctly and you want to have the playback that the director intended you to hear, you're going to need discrete speakers in discrete locations. I want to talk to you guys about how many you need to get the proper playback to hear the objects panning all around you. And as you guys know, we had John Traunwieser on a few weeks ago. He's a famous Hollywood mixer. He's mixed movies for Star Wars. He's done the Indiana Jones, Hunger Games, lots of stuff under his belt. And he revealed a lot of interesting things about how Atmos is played back in the home and how we're supposed to have a certain amount of speakers to get the proper rendering of it. So just to give you a little background here, I want to give you some speaker layout diagrams. And we're going to use the ones on RBH. Our friends RBH Sound have all of the basic speaker layout diagrams on their website. I'm sharing the screen here. They start with 5.1. And let me just tell you guys, if you at least have 5.1 in your house, you're ahead of most people. You're doing great. Anything you add above the 5.1 layer is just gravy at that point. You're getting good, at least good surround sound, multi-channel music, and basic 5.1 sound for listening to movies or watching your favorite streaming shows. 5.1 is the basic of where you start, and that's basically 5 speakers and 1 subwoofer, as you can see here. And because there's only 5 speakers in this diagram, it is recommended you put your surrounds kind of back behind you, almost diagonal behind you. When you do 7.1, of course, those back channels become side channels, and you have dedicated back channels. And you can see basically the diagrams on the right are just adding an extra subwoofer. Of course, we always recommend multi-sub, 2 subwoofers or more to get better, even bass distribution throughout your room. So 5.1 doesn't get you Atmos. 7.1 doesn't get you Atmos. That's still all what's called bed layer speaker layouts. So there's no panning above you because all of these speakers are basically at ear level. So when you start getting into Atmos, you've got your 5.1.2 configuration. You got your 5.1.4 configuration. As you can see in these diagrams, this one has 2 height channels. You got your basic 5 bed layer channels. And then the other one that we had was 5.1.4. And I'm trying to get back to that here. And this basically has 2 sets of height channels. And why is that important? Well, what we learned when we had John Traunwieser on is if you don't have 4 height channels, you can't do object panning front to back. You can only object pan left to right. So it's really, in my opinion, critical to have 4 height channels above all else. If you're trying to decide whether you're going to do a 7.1.2 or a 5.1.4, I would steer you towards 5.1.4 because you really want to have that object panning in front and behind you, as you can see in these diagrams. Now, when you look at these diagrams, I do caution people. I know they like to look at the angles and think they have to be exact from these diagrams. I see this more as a blueprint, as a starting point. Personally, I put the back channels behind the listener. I don't put them diagonal like that. And I tighten the focus of those height channels. I bring them in a little bit closer. Sometimes I put them closer together than the main speakers. Other times I'll stick them out wide like this. It really depends on how you're laying out your side and your back channels. So this is a kind of a working document. You know, you have to really suit it towards what you're doing in your particular room layout. And then, of course, in my opinion, the gold standard, you have 7.1.2 and you have 7.1.4. the gold standard really is for Dolby Atmos 7.1.4. So that gives you 7 bed layers, 4 high channels. That gives you incredible immersion above you, and it gives you all of your coverage from the front, sides, and the back. If you can do 7.1.4, preferably 7.2.4, having 2 subwoofers, that's really how you're going to get the best Dolby Atmos playback. That's what a lot of the movies are being mixed to in the home. And that's really our recommendation. Of course, 5.1.4 is the minimum. So I would tell you the minimum amount of speakers you need in a proper Dolby Atmos playback system would be 9 speakers plus a subwoofer. But if you could do 11 speakers, that's really your gold standard. And of course, you could build upon that. So if you've got multiple rows of seats, you might need an extra pair of side channels to get better coverage for the front and back rows. You might need to add another pair of height channels. You could do 6 height channels to cover larger rooms. And then the gravy, of course, the final stage, if you could do it, if your processor supports it, and if your room is wide enough to put wide channels. But that's a topic for another video that I would love to discuss with you at another time. So guys, I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to like it, hit the thumb up. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to me if you want to suggest video topics or ask questions. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.